Hello, my name is Tanya Morning Star Darling, and I'd like to share with Rising Wines Collective today a little bit about my home state, Washington State. Washington State is the second largest producer of fine wine in the U.S. after California, and has a vibrant and sometimes irreverent wine culture of smart and non-pretentious wine producers, professionals, and consumers. Washington has two distinct wine-growing climates, the cool, wet maritime zone of coastal western Washington and the desert-like, arid, extreme continental climate to the east of the Cascade Mountains. As of 2021, there are 19 American Viticultural Areas, or AVAs, in the state. But that number has grown by 5 in just the last couple years alone, so I expect this data to quickly be outdated as new AVAs, each with their specific characteristics, emerge. Basically, Washington State is an incredibly exciting place for wine, and the industry is growing and changing very rapidly. In fact, the number of bonded wineries passed the 1,000 mark in 2021 as well. When we discuss the western part of the state, it's important to acknowledge that although less than 1% of grapes which make Washington wine come from the Puget Sound AVA in the west, there are many wineries in the western part of the state, most of whom source their grapes from east of the mountains. So driving a big truck is an essential skill for these producers who have to bring their grapes all the way across the state to make their wine. Overall, Washington sits at the 48th parallel, almost at the extreme northern limit of viable latitude for growing suitable grapes for making quality wine. This northerly position is not without obstacles, but what it provides for Washington wine growing areas from both east and western climatic zones is longer daylight hours, coupled with cool nights. In the west, where cloud cover and precipitation can be an obstacle to ripeness, this helps provide extra hours of photosynthesis, meaning more sugar in the grapes. In fact, in the hot, sunny eastern part of the state, which sits in the rain shadow of the Cascades, there are very few clouds and very little rain. Grapes here get a lot of sunshine and ripen to very high sugar levels, which means high alcohol and full-bodied wines. This northern position means cool nights as well and allows the vine's metabolism to rest at night. This allows the ripening to slow down and promotes the natural acidity in the grapes to be preserved and the complex aromatic characteristics to develop in the fruit. Both red and white wines are produced here in Washington, but generally those made from eastern Washington fruit are full-bodied with a dynamic structure and mouthfeel. For reds, Bordeaux varieties such as Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon dominate the plantings, but there are quite a few Syrah and other Rhone varieties as well coming up. And for whites, Riesling and Chardonnay are the two most important varieties. Although the Yakima Valley AVA, which is completely nestled within the Columbia Valley, was the first official AVA in Washington, the Columbia Valley AVA is by far the largest, both in terms of acreage and the volume of wine produced. In fact, the Columbia Valley can be seen as a regional appellation, as it contains completely or partially the majority of AVAs in the state overall. We've discussed the climate, but the landscape and the soil composition of eastern Washington is also extremely diverse and dramatic. Having been shaped by the bombast of ancient volcanic activity and the drama of the Missoula floods at the end of the last ice age, this area is beautiful. These events left behind a great diversity of soils and terrains, meaning diverse terroirs for wine and more diverse wines. The climate, as one moves south around the Columbia River Gorge, becomes more moderate, and here you can find both Pinot Noir and Rhone varieties planted. Fun fact, the Columbia Valley AVA and the Columbia Gorge AVA and the Walla Walla AVA actually straddle the state line with Oregon, while the Lewis and Clark AVA is shared with Idaho. So let's taste a wine. This is a Grenache Blanc from the Boucher Vineyards, and on the nose, it's got kind of a melon and citrus aroma. On the palate, it's rich and silky, and it really has a wonderful combination of freshness and fullness. I love it. Washington has so much to offer for every wine lover. The main rule is that pretty much there are no rules. We have it all.